Well, when television was in its infancy and comedy was just finding its place in the medium, people like Milton Berle and Sid Caesar and Steve Allen were considered the pioneers. Jump to the 60s. Fast forward to the 60s. These are the guys who, well, they didn't pioneer it. They cleaned it up and refined it. Hi, everybody. We're on location at Trump Plaza in the theater. The rehearsal is finished, and tonight, the Smothers Brothers, Tom and Dick, open a 6-night engagement. All that and more when the David Spatz Show continues right after this. Stick. And welcome back to the Trump Plaza Theater. Tom and Dick Smothers join us. Right up front, we'll say if you hear some rim shots, some cymbal crashes, maybe a trumpet or a clarinet or a saxophone that you weren't planning on hearing. It's rehearsal day. It's opening night, so you'll bear with us. These guys are going to bear with us. Anyway, good to see you gentlemen back in town. This is an annual thing. We always have an appearance by the Smothers Brothers in the summer. Gets you off the farm, huh? The wine the wine operation.
Well, we just had the whole week of July off. We're just starting to work again here. So we just finished Las Vegas. Now we're here at the Trump.
So it's been a tough summer, huh?
Oh, it's been a great summer.
But is it the older you get, the less you work, the more you like it, or what?
Yes.
That is true.
Is that?
And the more you like your work, but the less you want to travel. There's a whole combination of things.
Well, you did some traveling to get here. I mean, you're both West Coast based now, aren't you?
But we've been traveling. That's true. But we've been traveling for 35 years. So, the travel is not the fun part.
There is so much that we could talk about in such a limited amount of time. One thing I have always been curious about, especially over the past few years, in the evolution of television. In 1969 was when the Smothers Brothers show came to an end because of the politics and the fact that CBS didn't like your politics. Yet you guys were commercial enough to get the show, but anti-establishment enough to lose it. How do you feel today when you see some of the things that can get by on television that in your day would have...
Well, we look back, there's a lot of things that can be done now, but in that time there was a different ethics, there was a different morality involved. So it was, it was a more unethical problem we confronted on the Vietnam War and the feelings we had there, and we expressed it. We didn't know we were going to be kind of radical at the time either, because when they gave us the show, we were in the middle of the road, and now we've returned to the middle of the road, really. We're not the cutting edge anymore.
But you were then.
We were at that time.
Were the thoughts that were expressed, were they all yours? Were they part of yours? And I know you had writers like Steve Martin and Rob Reiner. I mean, your show was a proving ground for young comedy writers at the time. How much of what you said were your own feelings and your own thoughts versus the thoughts of writers?
Well, a lot of it was personal, a lot of it was the writers, but we were all, the whole staff basically, a lot of it, 90% was under 30, so we were all of the same thinking consciousness. We were all aware of the same time. We were all kind of in tune, Mason Williams, and we all aboard the lying and the stuff that took place during the Vietnam War. So we were just reflecting it.
I mean, you guys were doing jokes about Nixon, and eventually you got canceled. Now I think if you don't do a joke about Nixon, you get canceled.
Well, we don't even mention in our show now, we don't even, real satire, you don't mention the name so much as you do the style. You ridicule the style, make fun of the style without getting into content. And I think that's where we messed up a little. I did, particularly in '69. I got involved in the issues instead of having fun of disarming the issues by making fun of the people. It was a mixed up thing. We say a few things in our show, but it's we're not naming names, and I think you can fill in the blanks because there's so many of them out there.
Right now, about 4 or 5 years ago, you guys went back to CBS, or CBS went back to you. Obviously, no hard feelings. What happened? How did that come about?
That was at the time CBS was falling apart. Right. They were really in rating problems, and CBS had changed because everybody who was with CBS when we were there were either dead or retired.
It's the same marquee, but different players.
Different players. The franchise is the same, but the players aren't.
And the players and the coach and management.
You know what? What we did in '88, '89 is basically what we did for them in 1967. We filled a hole in their time slot against Bonanza that accidentally became a hit, and the quickest and cleanest way to fill in a time slot is with a live show or a tape variety show.
Right.
And so when CBS in '88 and '89 were having trouble, they kept hiring us for 8 shows, 4 shows, 5 shows. And so we weren't in their plans, even though the shows were the best, we think, the best variety shows Smothers Brothers ever did. The latest evolution was when the Yo-Yo Man came out in '89, and 88, and we thought the shows were terrific, but they were looking for a long-term thing and just to use us as sort of plugs for their ratings.
How did that sit with you?
Fine. It was great creative work.
I was a little upset with it.
You had to keep firing your letting go of your staff and hiring new staff.
So it was hard work
standpoint.
that way, but it was
Yeah.
a great advance in variety. The format was
terrific
quicker,
shows.
was paced. It was the best stuff, best work Dick and I have
Yeah.
done on television.
And also from the rating standpoint, we were as good as what they had, yet they never gave us the same time slot. They never promoted the show. So that, most people say, oh, they didn't give our show the best shot, but I just knew they didn't have us in their plan, so I was just happy for the work, and it was.
Were any of the other networks after you at that point?
No,
There
nobody
was
was after us.
There was no one interested.
Not
I mean,
88,
ABC,
It's
NBC.
generally 5-6 years. Someone will say, "Hey, I think the Smothers Brothers is a good idea." So it's what we're about to do again. It's about
I
that
was going to say
time.
now it's about time. Any offers? Or not?
Not
Anyone
yet,
say
but
anything?
you never know.
Tommy has a concept, is a great show. It's called Funny After 50. And there's a lot of performers out there. You could say Funny After 70. There's some great performers. There's a lot of
You
performers.
guys are actually past 50?
Oh yeah, substantially. We're nearing 60, so not there yet. But Funny After 50 is a good idea. There's not going to be young guys talking dirty in front of a brick wall. More a little
Velveteen.
velveteen, a little more interesting.
Softer,
But
cushions.
we're the last living comedy team. You know, there's no one else
Sponsored by
doing
what?
it.
Metamucil and things like that.
Yeah, well, we worked last time we were in town with Alan King, and Alan King
That's right.
he's very, very funny. He's well past 50. Don Rickles is, and Alan King was great. He talked about his age group. And you could fill a room every time you get on stage talking about your age group.
And Don Rickles can do the same thing.
Yeah.
He's
Still
fabulous.
good, still good performance.
So, and really they say the young performers are doing the cutting edge. I find most of them today, the 50s was a big growth in comedy. The Nichols and May and the Shelley Bermans and Mort Solix, etc. Now they're doing old style. If you take the words out, they're doing the same stuff they did in vaudeville. I think that the great cutting edge of fine comedy, not the content-wise, is the older performers. They are so good.
Well, isn't it true that when you say you take the words out, we're talking about the words that you can't
Just
say on
the structure,
television. A lot of the words you can't say on television unless you're George Carlin or something. But isn't it true that it's more difficult to be funny working clean than it is working dirty? I mean,
I don't
you
think
say,
so.
No, you don't think
Don't
so?
think
But
so.
you could explain that. Yeah, I think you have a good explanation.
You can explain that.
No, you do it. You said it.
Well, I just don't think it is. I think a lot of these guys are talking dirty and they're hurting. They're not. I've been watching George Carlin. I think he's as funny as he used to be when he just had the
7 words. Well, now it's 300 words.
200 words. Now he's actually using the words in conversation and not using an example.
Yeah, and there's only so long you could get a laugh at an embarrassing word. It's the caliber of the comedian over the long run that'll make it. I don't think Andrew Dice Clay is as funny or as hot as he was.
No,
and
absolutely not.
But he was good enough in his craft to make a run out of it. That's all.
But we're basically attitude, and no one quotes us.
Yeah.
They say, "Mom liked you best." That's about the end of the Smothers Brothers because they can't
No, you
remember
gotta
what
know,
we
yeah.
talked about.
And that's
And oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was
now
very-
it's an old line.
And the Yo-Yo Man, they love the Yo-Yo
Yeah.
Man. So there's a lot of little things that we've.
Yeah. But
And it's great to be one of the only kind of Kleenex around in comedy. We get a lot of jobs for corporations and stuff because they can't find comedians.
I would think, yeah, you probably
Sure.
would, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
you're turning around. Mom Like You Best. I was thinking for the 90s, you could call that child abuse for the one she doesn't like as much. We could update that. Neglected child, home alone.
Oh, my God. Where did Mom Always Likes You Best come from? Wasn't that an ad lib?
It's an ad lib right out of the top of a show, and it just it was a long litany of abusive words by my brother putting me down. I just said it after a brief pause. Well, Mom liked you best, and it just people fell.
I had run out of everything I could say to put my brother down, and then he taught me. Yeah, I forget all that.
Not only that, but
Mom Like You Best. I mean, that's a double whammy.
Well, when you said it, when you heard it,
I never-
did either of you realize that could become the catchphrase that it
never had any day. It just came out.
just
It
came
just
out.
exploded the audience, and you could buy a T-shirt that says, we sell them at the winery. Mom liked me best, but you could. It's a double thing. If you're siblings, you know what I'm talking about. You could buy your brother one that says, Mom liked me best, but he always knew she liked you best, and that reminds him of it. So that's a great phrase.
And people still will sit through that show waiting to hear that line.
We don't deliver.
And we don't do it.
And you don't do it.
We're in our 50s. It's kind of strange, George Burns always said do comedy that fits your age. And two guys in their late 50s saying, well, Mom always liked you best. We introduce ourselves as Mom's favorite son and the other one. Which
See, it's there.
gives
The
us
subtext is there.
Right.
Subtext, and they all know it. So.
But do you think any of them walk out going, darn, they didn't say it?
Sometimes they do.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't get the laugh. Wouldn't get the laugh, so we just don't do it.
Now, see, I'm going to disagree. I'm going to say that if you saved it for the right moment, when you do your sibling rivalry bit on stage, if there were a beat and you'd said, well,
you have
Mom
to
was
really
like-
commit to that line. It's just
You
not
do?
conversational. You got to have passion behind it. You got
yeah, and after
sing it
40
out.
years,
Yeah.
The only way I could think of is when I say it's very difficult doing a brother act when you're an only child. You could say, you've been waiting to hear Mom liked you best. Okay, Mom liked me best. Of course she did. I'm an only child. That's about the only possible way you could justify. He was created through artificial animation.
No, wait, you're the older of the two. How can you take that abuse?
Well,
from your
we don't
younger
even
brother?
discuss it anymore.
No.
A lot of
That's the
people
rule.
think that I always used to call Dickie my little Dickie Smothers, my little brother Dickie Smothers, and I was the oldest. But people have assumed the age of Dick. I should be the younger. Dick is authoritarian, so we don't even discuss it because wait a second, I thought that they get it all confused, so we don't mention it. Who's the oldest? Who's the youngest? And at this point in time, who cares?
Hey, really, as long as you're both still living and breathing.
Yeah.
Well, let's face it, when you're 110, 22 months is not a big difference.
No, it really isn't. Back in 1976, you guys did what amounted to, well, it didn't amount to, you called it a farewell show. You weren't going to do the Brothers act anymore. How come?
We got tired of each other. Got tired of the act, and the show wasn't good. We weren't fresh.
Well,
we didn't bring any spontaneity to the
Yeah,
stage.
well, what really happened was we were off until the trial, and after the trial we got back, and it didn't have the momentum, didn't have the direction. We were just doing ourselves, and so we're back for about 3 years, and we said, hey, let's pass on
Now,
this.
the trial,
The CBS
trial.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was a big thing. And so when we started working again, Tommy started working by himself doing dinner theater.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
did.
love my wife.
I love my wife.
But that was a Broadway show.
Mm-hmm.
But we both did dinner theater separately, and then when that offer came up, I Love My Wife, we weren't playing Brothers, and that was great. And then from that, we got interested in doing the
1980, we started
Doing
doing
the
the show
acting.
again, and it was fresh and it was fun. We had a nice break, learned some theater moves, learned some skills we didn't have from television. Did a lot of live performance, and that gave us a lot.
And theater's terrific. I mean, we learn things we can't even explain as far as stage presence and throwing
Moves
the focus and
right.
that kind of things. So we got revitalized.
Well, things you didn't really have time to learn because you guys pretty much hit it from the start when you were working at coffee houses.
I say, I got a phrase that we were celebrities before we were qualified. We were stars before we even had our skills honed.
Yeah,
and that's
true.
the truth. We were way ahead of ourselves. Now we have all of our things down, much more prepared, better, smarter. Timing is cleaner. We're not that hot now, but we got all the things ready.
You're not that hot, but you seem to be. I mean, it
Still
doesn't
there.
seem to be bothering you.
We maintain.
I mean, people still recognize you. They know the name. You will do business here in Atlantic City, just as you do business everywhere. And I would think that would probably
That's
kind of make
great.
you feel good
It
after
does.
all these years.
It does, and you never know in this business when something's going to come out and pluck you out of the ordinary, and away you go again. And you have to be good. You have to be confident. And
But I can't believe that we've sustained so long. It's something that's a
We
little
never planned
magic.
it.
There's a little magic in the relationship that's maintained through. It's our 35th year, so I'm saying, hey, we're doing something right.
I look at someone like Jackie Mason, and the same thing comes to mind. He worked so many years as an opening act and was always funny, but never, ever went over the top.
Yeah, he's real brilliant, actually, brilliant.
Yes.
You know, you're talking about getting away. I think it's
Victor
good.
Borga,
Yeah.
he's still out there.
Yeah.
I think a sabbatical is good for an act. You know, you work. It's so intense, and no matter what, 2 weeks isn't enough. Take 6 months off if you can.
Are you trying to
Or
tell
something
Tommy
like that.
something or what?
No,
You
it's
try-
just, it's just,
okay.
it
We
just
both agree.
refreshes you. They do it and teachers and doctors, all that. So you got it.
Well, you guys do it every year, don't you? I mean, you take.
Not
you
really.
take-
That's not
We
enough.
take a month, but
That's not enough.
That's not quite long enough to.
Planning. You know, you
But you can't get longer than 6 months because then you lose your chops and
Or
you
you're-
get tentative and a little nervous about going out.
And nobody
again.
knows if you're working or not.
Well, when you went back to work together in 1980 doing the act,
We opened.
you opened, right? You were.
everybody.
You
We
were
didn't
an
care who we
You were.
opened for.
You were open. I said when you first played Atlantic City, you were an opening act.
Yeah, and Lola Falana, we opened for her in
That's right.
Vegas. And the thing is, you're silly not to say, we can't come back unless we have the same stature when we left, then you don't get it. So
what was your question? What was it? What you had?
No, I'm not. I don't throw that many questions.
It
out. I
was a
just kind of-
hard one. It was hard coming back. We were shoddy. We were not shoddy, but our timing was off. It was fragile. It had no. We were enthusiastic, but it took a good 2 years to get up to
It took that long,
Yeah.
really.
Well, Tommy came back and did single.
I tried to single just to get some comedy timing. I did an hour show in 20 minutes. My timing was so long. It's like a trumpet player. You know,
God.
you got all the notes, but your lips.
Oh, and then we took a job in Vancouver at the Cave. It looked like a cave, and they didn't tell us the same audience in Canada stays for 4 hours.
Uh-oh.
And we had 1 hour show, and so we had to do 2 different shows. It stretched us. It really stretched us, and I don't want to get that far out of whack again.
Yeah, you got to stay. You got to keep your hand in it
Certainly.
so you don't lose your sense.
All right, you've got the yo-yo in your hand. Where did the idea for Yo-Yo Man come from?
Mason Williams. Mason Williams, our writer, wrote Classical Gas. He
Right.
came up with a song about 15 year ago and said, hey, here's a song about the traveling Duncan Yo-Yo Man. We loved the song, put it in. I picked up a yo-yo and did a few tricks, and out of the woodwork over the period of years, we become the world champion here, a Kansas City champion, a state champion. They say, hey, I hear you're doing yo-yo, and come backstage, show me some tricks. Pretty soon, this little piece that was in the middle of the show became, after '88 when we started putting it on television, it became the headline. This is our closer. We give him billing. The Smothers Brothers,
Yo-Yo
Yo-Yo
Man,
Man,
and
Leslie
Tommy,
Gore.
yeah.
Oh, I know you got a whole song. I mean,
Yeah,
And I
we've got
never
3 or 4
refer to my
songs.
brother as my brother when he's the Yo-Yo Man.
oh, really?
It's a different person.
It's a third party, and
Looks a little bit like my brother, but
this is.
Who is he right now? Right now he's Yo-Yo Man?
no, he's the
Is
guy
he-
who's doing some of the Yo-Yo Man stuff.
I do that. I'm not the Yo-Yo Man, but I know him pretty well, and it's kind of related.
Yo-Yo Man doesn't talk. He's never
Does not
spoken a
talk.
word.
Oh, really?
Ever.
And it has a philosophy.
I'm the voice of
So that's
philosophy
where
of
Penn
a-
and Teller got that idea from.
No, they're not yo-yos, though.
But I'd love to do. I love that concept. Penn and Teller and the Smothers Brothers, the last comedy team. I don't know anybody else doing comedy anymore. Is there?
there aren't
I wonder
many
if that would
teams.
make a
It's a
good
form.
double billing.
Sure would.
That would be a group. No, wait, that would be.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to open?
It doesn't matter. We like, at our age, we like going home early.
So the opening is
we did
fine.
a concert not too long ago. Well, we actually worked Wolf Trap again down in Virginia with the Kingston Trio.
Right.
But the first time we worked with them, we both were fighting to go on first because we all wanted to miss the crowd and get home early.
So that's what happens when you get old, when you
Yeah.
mature in this business.
We're going to be up in Homedale, New Jersey, at the Garden thing with
Tony Bennett.
on the 18th of August.
This month.
Oh,
yeah.
so you'll open that show.
That's
He's
a-
not going. He's not going to open it.
Oh, no.
But that's
we
a good
don't-
bill.
That's a great bill.
Good old fashioned, solid professionals out there.
God, he's such a great craftsman, and it's such a wonder. Now, it's so exciting, and it feels so good in your heart to see a performer like that has been through it so much, and it's just getting better.
But what I like about that combination is that Tony Bennett has now gathered up a younger audience with his Unplugged CD and the albums he's done to Perfectly Frank and Stepping Out, which was the tribute to Fred Astaire. And he now has a younger audience. Now here you guys are going to go in working with them to his younger audience. All of a sudden you could get hot again. Then you're going to have to work and close.
We
And
ought to do an unplugged thing then.
the Yo-Yo Man.
Yeah, the Yo-Yo
Smothers-
Man unplugged.
How would the Smothers
Unstrung.
Brothers do? Unstrung.
Strong with the Yo-Yo Man.
All right, I can't let you guys go without asking about your wine because it's become a very important part of your careers and something that's been identified with you over the past few years, right?
Dick started the winery in 1977, won a bunch of national awards, and we planted a vineyard up in Sonoma, and it's still going.
So
then-
are you a true enophile?
Not anymore. In 86, 87, Tommy took over the winery. So he's been doing it since then. I moved to Virginia. I got married and had 2 kids and said, I can't take care of a California winery in Virginia. Yeah,
So it's
okay.
a B. I think it's a B&D distributors here in New Jersey.
Now you were at Trump's Castle a couple years ago. They had a little wine tasting for some of their better players, and I tasted it. It was wonderful. I'm not. Wait a minute. I'm not a big gambler. I was just there as a member of the media, but it was good stuff.
Oh, it's world-class wine.
And
It's,
no, I couldn't find it. I went to every liquor store I knew around here, and they didn't have it.
I
Now,
can tell you're a wine connoisseur because you call it good stuff.
good stuff. Well, I'm not a connoisseur. I said I'm not an enophile.
Doesn't
but
come in a
I like
box.
white,
Well,
and
see,
it doesn't
wine-
have a screw. It has a cork, no screw
cork.
top.
Well, wine has this mystique about that the people who grow grapes and make wine are trying to undo this thing because it's kind of intimidating to people. Come
Yeah, it
and
is.
say what kind of wine it is. And there's reds and there's whites, and
there's
this is
pink.
from my grandfather, Ed Remick. We named a vineyard after him and planted and put his ashes into the drip system when he passed away, and it has this magical lilt to it.
It's a little bit of Grandpa. He's forever in everybody.
Yeah, I know. Ed Remick says Remick Ridge
Better
Smothers
than-
Brothers wine. And
I'm
now
trying to
ask
figure if they're
around.
pulling my leg or not.
No.
No.
Chardonnay, Cabernet, and a little bit of Merlot.
And a little bit of
A
Grandpa.
little bit of Grandpa Rum.
Okay.
Hey, it's legal and it's clean. It's just we put it in with the fertilizer. It's a little thing, it'll shoot her. And it's a great way if anybody wants to, be forever. Just send us a few of your ashes and we'll think about it.
Will you put it on the label? That is
Neptune
wild.
Society approved.
Okay. Well, that's all right.
That's a joke. We're not approved by Neptune.
Hey, I know you guys got to finish up
Yeah.
rehearsing and get ready for tonight. I want to thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thanks for having us on your
Dick,
show.
it's been a
Thank you
pleasure.
very much.
Tom,
Thank you.
continued success, and tell the Yo-Yo Man we said hi.
I'll tell him.
When do we see him?
When we see him.
Right, can you? You can't sing, so maybe you could quack. You're going to get up here and quack all by yourself, and I don't want any excuses.
I feel terrible about it.
That's too late, Tom. You quacked, you ruined the song. All I want from you is some action. So go ahead and quack, quack mouth.